The first 3D print we'll be looking at are Yang's shotgun gauntlets, or Ember Celica. This 3D model was designed by Jolly Roger on Thingiverse. At a glance, you can tell that the 3D model is pretty well done with some pre-sliced models. If you want to print them without the shotgun shells in some of the pieces, then he also has them with them cut out. I highly recommend doing this, that way you can print some red shotgun shells and then insert them later. I will say that not all of the connector pieces will be quite easy to slot into one another in order to connect each individual piece. Some 5mm neodymium magnets for the circular indents plus some super glue will work well to quickly snap on the top and lower half of the Ember Celica. Overall, pretty good 3D print, fairly straightforward, very sturdy, but we'll definitely need some wrist straps or gloves for the interior. Next 3D model is Qrow's Harbinger, also from RWBY. This prop was modeled by GibbyGabe10 on Cults 3D. It comes in multiple pieces, so it will require quite a bit of assembly, but overall, the design is not too complex or delicate, so you shouldn't have too much trouble if you're going to take on this project yourself. One thing to note, however, is depending on your bed size or your slicer, it might appear quite tiny. What I pretty much did was raise the scaling by approximately 1950%. I could go for 2000, but my smaller 3D printer couldn't quite handle that. But either way, this approximate scale will get you a fairly good size representation once you actually do have it in your hands. Finally, it's Weiss's Myrtenaster, also from RWBY. I hate this piece of shit. It is so delicate that I pretty much have to be careful where I'm holding it, how I'm resting it, and it's just an overall annoyance. I did manage to get the revolver cylinder to spin, but those of you guys with a keen eye will probably notice that I've got it on backwards. I'm pretty much 3D printing a replacement for it as I record this, but yeah, it's just really annoying. The original 3D model was modeled by Amy Can't Fly Now. There's very little description on how to assemble it. I mean, that's what you get with a lot of different 3D models or 3D print projects on props. But there are certain problems with this 3D model. And it's not just the fact that certain pieces are super delicate and are just incredibly awkward to 3D print. For example, this piece right here. But if you look in a slicer, certain parts, for example, where this hilt, let me try to get it. For example, this hilt has a hole here. This is the hammer. This is part of the hilt and handle. And this is the hammer cover. If you look carefully in the hammer cover, there's this little arch right here. And here's the other side of that arch. There's a small hole within this hammer so that this arch goes into, that arch goes into this hole. And so then the arch fits around this curve. If you can't tell, this is a completely enclosed 3D model. And these are completely separate pieces. So if you print them separately, you're not going to be able to physically get it in there. And there's like no instructions on this. So yeah. Not only that, but the 3D model itself reveals that the blade is not a rapier. It is instead a saber, which is not quite accurate to Weiss's sword. And even though says it is a work in progress, I highly doubt that it's going to be worked on anytime soon. Either way, the 3D modeling itself is very good. It's just that there are very specific issues with it, aside from its delicacy, whatever. Aside from how delicate the prop itself ends up being. That aside, I would highly recommend printing this at approximately 80% scale. Printing it at 100% scale results in a pretty big prop. Almost comically oversized for what a rapier should be. Anyway, I guess this was pretty much just a quick review video on some 3D print projects that I finished up on. Now, if there were any criticisms I had with any of the 3D models, I just want to let everyone know that I'm still learning 3D modeling, and each of these are pretty darn impressive in their own right. But yeah, I think I'm going to continue doing a few of these sort of review videos on 3D print projects on props. Pretty much just printing and assembling them myself. That way I can get a better understanding of what they are like from the maker side of things as opposed to the 3D modeling side of things. And if anyone else out there becomes interested in taking on one of these projects themselves, hopefully they learn a few things from my quick overview as well, and hopefully they can save some time and filament. Anyway, thanks for watching. Check out my other videos. See ya!